What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, break down what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is down 9.7%, sitting at 1787. So the reverse stock split fully in force, and from what I can see online, everyone has received their new shares. Nobody's really complaining. So I think coming from a broker standpoint, that's also a success, because sometimes stocks do a reverse stock split and some individuals can't trade because the brokers don't switch it over. So I think this reverse stock split coming from that standpoint was a success, but nonetheless, today a good amount of volume. So 9.1 million shares being traded, 9.3 is the average. Coming from a macro standpoint, we had manufacturing data coming in a little bit better than forecast. So 48.7 versus 48.2. Didn't really kind of affect the market at all, because the market is just very much hell-bent and focused on just negative today. And I think it's more psychological rather than anything. Over the last couple days, especially with it being a long weekend, people had time to digest how high the market's actually gone up. And then as well, on average, what that does mean for just September. So historically, September sucks. You can kind of see over the last 10 years, on average, it does go down 2.2%. People see this data, had time to digest it, and get a little bit fearful. At the same time, comparing what has been really coming out, tail part of last week associated to tariffs, this is how you get just the sell-off, broader market sell-off. And I think just generally, as I mentioned in my video on Saturday, that Lucid was going to pull back roughly around 10% regardless, because of the whole reverse stock split mentality. So it's kind of pretty much there, so down 9.75%. As far as news, there hasn't been any news from Lucid today. So this is going to be something that a lot of people are watching for. And again, for those individuals that are optimistic that Lucid did this reverse stock split just for some other, like a hidden agenda, maybe for a new investor or whatever else, people are going to be waiting for news. So just kind of watch for that over the next couple trading days. There was a 8K that did come out. Honestly, it's nothing really crazy. It just shows what is and isn't affected by the reverse stock split. But generally, we knew this going into the actual reverse stock split. So nothing really crazy in my opinion. But like I said, I think just people are waiting for something. And technically, as of today, with it trading at 17 and change, it is instantly, so there isn't a waiting period. It is instantly out of penny stock status. So in theory, based on what Mark mentioned, how a lot of institutions want to buy Lucid, they just can't because of his previous penny stock status. In theory, you would be seeing them buy, you would assume, today. But nonetheless, based on this over here, you're not really seeing that much buying going on. You see a couple walls at maybe like the $17.50 for the most part, and $17, but that is it. Still, based on the market position, a lot of selling. And even based on the flow, just in big institutions aren't really getting in. So hopefully Mark is correct in assuming that institutions want to buy Lucid. They just couldn't. So in theory, like I said, going forward, they are no longer considered a penny stock. So something just to keep in mind. One thing I do want to bring up, though, which is rather interesting, is Morgan Stanley did give a new rating. So they did reiterate their $3 price target. So they just adjusted it to $30. So they're clearly monitoring Lucid, but for them to give $30, that's a pretty good return on investment, assuming it can get there. So let me know your viewpoint on that. So far, that's the only new rating that did come out post reverse stock split. As far as shorts, 182,000 shares are being increased today. So not really doing too much. 30.09% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 377.74 million shares overall being shorted. That right there, though, has not been adjusted. Still, though, of course, Ortex is going to adjust a lot of their numbers behind the scenes. They kind of take a couple days on a side note, but this 182,000 is accurate. So that's factoring in the new kind of chain, the new COSIP number, but cost to borrow average is 23.35%. That is an annual rate, not a daily rate. No new options. So as I've mentioned, it should take about 2 business days. So probably by assume Thursday, if not Friday, we should have the new chains. So that's where a lot of options individuals and fans like myself will be rather excited. But these so far are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So interestingly enough, you do actually see some buying, a couple big ones, 1.1 million, a couple sells. So maybe Mark is actually correct in assuming that some institutions are buying, not big whales, but clearly some institutions are buying, a couple 100,000 shares here and there. These are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool though. So this is often enough used by hedge funds as well as shorts. So 1.1 million right there. And that seems to be the only big transaction. Actually, my apologies on that. That is still from August. So these are all the transactions right here. So looks as though 1.3 million done at 10 a.m. So that was when Lucid was partially recovering, possibly because of the posting of that new analyst rating. But that seems to be the only large transaction. Right now with that 1785, it is trading between this S2 and this S3. So in comparison to a lot of growth stocks, Lucid is lagging, but generally, I don't think you need me to tell you that. We all kind of know that. So right now, 1630 is going to be that next strong support, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, because that's works out to be $1.60 or $1.63. So I don't know, that's quite the pullback over the last little bit. So 1827 is going to be that key point to really watch for it to get above in the next couple trading days, if you are going to see any remote recovery whatsoever. And we do actually have a lot of big data points coming out the rest of the week that could really solidify a 25 or potentially even a 50 basis point cut for the upcoming September 17th meeting. So that would be a pretty good catalyst for the broader market. But as of right now, just things aren't really looking all that great. Aside from that though, quickly going back over here and removing this, on the actual chart, it's below absolutely all the key pivotal moving averages. On stochastic RSI, it is rather overdone right here. So a good piece of news, let's say they do actually announce a new big investor coming in, then yes, in theory, you could see kind of a nice temporary reversal, but ultimately you do really want to watch for this $20.43 mark. That's that 10-day moving average. That does signal more of a trend, at least in the short term reversal, but Lucid's always really struggled with that. But yeah, let me know your general thoughts on Lucid. What is your kind of viewpoint? Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? I know I've mentioned in the past that I would be a buyer at that like $1.80 to $1.90 range, but given the circumstances and just the grayness associated to the reverse stock split, I am not buying right now. I'm not buying into the fear, because I feel like right now is just more of a falling knife. And we did break below these points right here. So essentially we are in unknown territory. So brand new 52-week and I guess all-time low being hit for Lucid. Is if you believe in Lucid, have at it, buy the dip. In my case, I'm not. I do feel that they need to really clarify a lot of things. So let me know your viewpoint on Lucid. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.